Today we got something a little different with someone a little different. We're going to be talking about flamenco guitars, so stick around. How's it going, y'all? This is Cooper Greenberg here at Alamo Music Center.
This is Ramon Botello.
This is my dog. We're here and we are talking about some new guitars. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe. Find us online, alamomusic.com. Take a listen to the podcast. We did a new episode today, so that will be coming out either before or after this. It's coming out sometime soon, and it's finally done. But we're also diving into some new territory here. I've got a Cordoba F10, and I've also got one of my main cats over here, Ramon. He works at the store. You might have seen him in some other videos, like when we did our Taylor event. We play in a band together. He plays in several other projects around town, and he plays all around Texas. And he kind of, outside of our stuff, has, especially over the last few years, really gotten more and more proficient and passionate about flamenco music. And he's got some really nice guitars of his own. But on our channel, when we talk about nylon string guitars, it's typically in the classical realm. We have shown off a nice range of beginner to more intermediate to advanced classical guitars, but brands like Cordoba, they make nylon string guitars. Some of those are classically geared, and some of those are more flamenco geared. And that's kind of a word that's thrown around a lot, flamenco music. And yes, you can play different types of music on different types of guitars, but we're specifically focusing on this style because this is a little bit closer to what he plays in real life, professionally, and what he does. So, F10 looks very similar to a C10, which we've shown off on this channel. A C10 from Cordoba is a classical, and you can find it in a spruce rosewood or a cedar rosewood, just like on the C12s. And they're nice guitars. They're a little bit higher end compared to some of their more entry-level things. This is going to be in that same realm in terms of trim out. But there are a few key differences with something like this. But before we get into them, I kind of want to hear from Ramon. What do you look for in a flamenco guitar?
Honestly, the biggest thing you want to look for is volume, and you want to have enough power to be able to do the hard technique that comes with playing flamenco. So usually it's like this one is a thin body, right? So it definitely will give you that percussive power when you're doing the golpes, which are the hit on the guitars, or any of the other, multiple techniques that come with playing flamenco. But usually, yeah, you're looking for, at least I'm always looking for like a dry sounding, powerful guitar, something that is a little dynamic to, you don't necessarily need it to always be loud like that, right? But you want it to have that ability, basically. So.
Yeah, which that kind of comes into play with the woods that are used. So a lot of times on classical guitars, especially more modern ones that we see, and, traditionally you see a lot of cedar or spruce, soft woods going to be on top, give you kind of a dynamic play, but classicals, a lot of cedar tops will give you a really soft sound that you can kind of have this roundness to. Mahogany or mahogany or rosewood on the back is going to give you either that kind of mid-range push, or with rosewood, which a lot that we've been seeing recently, cedar rosewood, you get the softness from the top, and then you get kind of the low end and the shimmering highs on the high end, a little bit of that mid-range scoop. Something like this that's going to have cypress, which is the same wood that you have on an incredible guitar that he just purchased. Cypress is going to have that dry sound. It's going to have that EQ that's going to push you up to the front. A lot of volume, thinner body, so it's comfortable, but it's also just pushing as much sound out as possible. And also, I think a big deal is not having, like with rosewood, some of the overtones where you get these kind of long decays. This is all about the attack because, as you're going to hear when he plays, a lot of quick moving stuff, a lot of biting notes, and so you don't want to have a ton of carryover, reverb, harmonics. So it's really about the note fundamental. What about action and setup? What do you like?
Definitely action as low as possible. And most flamenco guitars, you'll find that the action is set up quite low to where you'll almost get a buzzing, but this is more of a percussive, element that helps push the sound as much as possible and gives it the unique sound that it has. Going back to the woods, though, I was going to say along the lines of flamenco guitars, there are flamenco guitars that have, dark woods, and this is like this comes down to the same like old argument between the blanca, which is this one here, or negra, which would have, you know, rosewood or something. With the darker woods, you can still have flamenco guitars that have darker woods, but you are trading tone for volume and power most times. So
what do you play on right now when you're gigging?
A blanca. I play on an old Cordoba GK Studio Blanca when they used to make them. They're basically the same thing as the negras, but just the
Cypress.
Yeah, the Cypress.
What about the new one that you bought?
The new one is also a blanca. It's just for me, I can't really get away from that type of the type of dynamic that it has is just incredible. So I don't think I could really switch to a negra that easily. It just helps a lot, especially with the movements and stuff like this.
Yeah, I think too, when I see him play, several guitarists on stage, other instruments, percussion, vocals, all that, like you need a little something extra to drive it and really stand out. So with something like this, visually pretty similar to a C10, we just think it's important that, especially here in San Antonio, but also with people all over the country that we talk to, you know, sometimes somebody sees a nylon string guitar, and I've heard it so many times. A friend of mine named Jeff, actually, that does not live in Texas, was like, my son wants to get into flamenco, looking for the right guitar for him. And going into classical guitar, taking lessons for that versus this, it can be a totally different thing, and subtle nuances in the guitars can really give you different advantages. So without further ado, we're gonna have Ramon play a little bit. I think there's a couple sound samples in there. You use a capo quite a bit.
Yeah, I do one part of the demo with no capo, and then another part of the demo with a capo, so you can get a good feel for the different sounds.
Different vibes. So take a listen. So there you have it, a little bit of Ramon jamming out on the F10. I was standing outside the room when I heard it. I thought it sounded good. There you go. So when it comes to more videos like this, we love Cordoba. We're fans of Yamaha. Has some really nice nylon strings, some that are pretty entry level, but they have these beautiful handmade Japanese guitars. There's so much, we spend so much time on the channel talking about steel string guitars, all the different wood pairings, all the different subtle things between spruce rosewood versus spruce mahogany, whatever it may be. But there's so much kind of variation within the nylon string world. With this, I didn't even mention the fact, if you're interested in the guitar, it's European spruce top, which I think is the same as your new one that you just got. So different spruces, just like we always talk about in steel string guitars. There's still differences. I think European spruce is used quite a bit with these just because really nice kind of dynamic. You can attack it in different ways and it follows you versus something like cedar that's going to top out. But yeah, so F10, C10, I think that's a natural comparison that we'd probably do next. But if there's other guitars or other brands that you're interested in that you kind of want to hear the differences, really talk about different styles, because it's not just flamenco. I mean, you play all kinds of music,
Yeah, and I will say, I'm sure classical players know this. This guitar is very different from a classical. The technique that you use on this guitar is very different. You don't see me sitting with it like this necessarily. So, and if you're wanting to get, the very pure sound of each note in a classical guitar, a flamenco guitar will not necessarily, it's not that it's going to be, the quality is going to be less, but it's not going to be a traditional classical sound. If you're an electric guitar player and you're looking for a nylon, you're going to want to gravitate towards a flamenco guitar because it just has almost like a rock and roll to it, the power that it comes with. So, and the thin neck, and the action is honestly the biggest difference as well. So.
Yeah, I mean, these things are built for volume and dynamics and speed, and it's really cool to be able to hear them side by side. Yeah. So we're going to get into that. We're going to show you some comparisons. Ideally, we get some recommendations from people that are watching the video. If you have different models from Cordoba or anybody else, we can get our hands on them. We can show them off. I'd love to see this one, which is not an inexpensive guitar, but in the grand scheme, there are so many incredible builders and luthiers that are doing handmade stuff out of Spain, out of Mexico, all over the place. So we're going to build this out. I would also love, because on the other side, Ramon's an electric guitar player. We play together. He's fantastic. Totally other, different kind of style. So we've teased it on the channel. There's custom strats coming. He's a strat guy. He's got one. I've got one. So we're going to show you more of that. But you're going to be seeing a lot of this face, all right? So get used to it. And then let us know in the comments what you want to see, what you think. If you're interested in the F10, there's other flamenco models from Cordoba. Let us know. Browse the website. Check out all that we have. And subscribe to the channel. Let us know what you want to see. Comment, like the videos, share them with your friends. And if you're trying to find a nylon string guitar, it's not one size fits all. There are a lot of different styles, a lot of different sounds that you can get out of them. You got anything else?
Before we wrap up, I wanted to throw this one thing in. Considering that Cordoba is owned by Yamaha now, or have been probably for some time.
About a year-ish.
About a year. Would love, just throwing this out there, would love to see the transacoustic technology put into something like this. This is something that I'm already seeing on other guitar players in Spain, and they're basically using the same technology as the transacoustic, but I imagine the transacoustic would sound much better on something like this. So would love to see that if that's possible. Just putting that out there.
So John Scully, if you're watching, make it happen. Tim, if you're watching, we're at the next NAMM show, transacoustic flamenco guitar.
Yeah.
That'd be sweet. Cool. That's Ramon. My name's Cooper, Alamo Music. Subscribe to the channel. Check out the guitar on our website. We'll see you next time.